Today I want to share a story that begins with a burlap sack on the side of a desert trail. Inside it was a woman bruised, barely breathing, and wearing the face of someone long dead. For Sam Redhawk, an Apache who had buried too much already. It felt like the past clawing its way back. If this story moves something in you, leave a comment below. Now, let me tell you what happened next. The wind rolled soft through the juniper trees, brushing low across the dry grass, and whispering secrets to the stones. It was the kind of wind the old ones used to say carried voice. Laughter, grief, prayers that never made it past the lips. Sam Redhawk stood still at the ridge, letting it wash over his face. Eeg above the valley, under a ski bruised with late afternoon gold, he felt it again, that quiet pull in the air, like something long buried was coming loose. He shifted the weight of the firewood bundle on his back and started down the slope toward his cabin. The trail, no more than a deer path, wound narrow between the brush and rocks. Sam moved with the easy care of a man who'd lived with silence for years. No need to rush. No one waited on him. Not anymore. But halfway down, he saw it. A lump in the dry wash below. At first, he thought it a dead animal. Maybe a calf taken by coyotes. But something about the shape stopped him. It crouched low, eyes narrowing. The sun caught on coarse fabric. A sack burly he torn and moving. He left the trail, boots quiet in the dust, and approached with slow steps. His rifle stayed slung, but his fingers rested near the strap. The wind had stilled like it, though, was holding breath. Closer now. The sack twitched again. A faint sound escaped from within. Half moan, half breath. Not an animal. Sam knelt and untied the rough rope cinched at the top. When he peeled it open, the scent of old blood and sweat rose sharp. And then a woman lay crumpled inside. Her dress was torn. Skin mottled with bruises. One eye swollen shut. Dried blood crusted her lower lip. She was unconscious or nearly so, but alive. His hands trembled. He knew that face. Not exactly, not fully, but enough. Claire. The breath caught in his chest hard and painful. But he blinked and forced himself to see clearly. No, it wasn't Claire. Claire had been gone near 6 years now, buried beside a cottonwood tree not 30 millas from here. He dug the grave himself with blistered hands and hadn't spoken aloud for days afterward. But this woman looked like her, down to the high cheekbones and the shape of her jaw, except there was something sharper in the lines, a strength or maybe a wound, cut deeper. And then he remembered Claire had once told him in a quiet moment, laughing through a late summer breeze, I have a twin, Emma. She stayed back east when I came out here. She's tougher than I'll ever be. Emma Rowe. And now here she was, bruised, broken, dumped like trash in a burlap sack under a juniper ski. Sam didn't hesitate. He lifted her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. It radiated from her skin. Fear or shock. He turned back toward the trail and made his way home. His cabin was tucked into the crook of a ravine, hidden behind a fall of rock and low brush. Not many knew it was there, and fewer still had the stomach to come looking. The Apache and him preferred it that way. He pushed open the door with his shoulder and laid Emma on the narrow cot. The room smelled of dry sage, smoke, and pine. He stoked the fire back to laugh and lit the lantern. Then he brought in a basin of water from the barrel and began to clean her wounds. He worked gently the way his mother once taught him. Starting from the forehead, moving down, she flinched at his touch, but didn't wake. Her wrists bore rope burns. Her ribs were blackened with bruises. A welt marked her collarbone, the shape of a heavy boot. Whoever had done this meant her to die. But something had gone wrong. Or maybe someone at the last moment found a shred of mercy and dumped her here instead of finishing the job. He rolled back the torn sleeve of her dress and saw something that made him still a faded brand on her inner arm. Crude in the shape of a circle split by a line. They'd seen it before. Off-private mark belonged to a man who ran girls out of drywood under the guise of employment. Reach, protected, vicious. So this wasn't random. This was a warning. A message sent in flesh and blood. Sam leaned back and looked at her again, not as a memory or a ghost, but as a woman lying on the edge of life. And he knew if Emma Harrow was here, someone had gone digging where they weren't supposed to. And that meant the same people who had buried Claire might still be watching. He sat beside the hearth and sharpened his knife out of habit. The sound of slow, steady rhythm against the stone. Near midnight, Emma stirred. Her breathing hitched. Her fingers twitched against the blanket. Sam was beside her before she opened her eyes. "Easy," he said, voice low. Her eyes blinked open, pale blue, still full of pain. "Still beautiful." "Where?" Her voice cracked. "Safe," he said. "You're safe." She winced, tried to sit, and hissed in pain. He reached to steady her, but she flinched. "It's all right," he murmured. "You're hurt, but not dying. He found you near the creek." Her gaze locked on his face, then focused. "Jure," she started, then her brows knit. "Jure Sam." Sam breathed out. He didn't answer. "Clyde talked about you," she said slowly. "Said you were the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. Said you taught her how to hear the wind." Sam's throat tightened. "She told you that?" Emma nodded. "She said, you knew what silence meant. That some men bury the wind just by walking through it." He closed his eyes a moment. "She said, if anything ever happened to her, I should find you. Only, I never thought I'd need to." He looked down at her fingers, curled tight in the blanket. "You didn't find me," he said. "Someone else brought you here, and they nearly saw to it that you didn't live long enough to speak." Emma's eyes turned hollow. "I know." A beat of silence passed between them. "You're not her," Sam said at last. "No," Emma whispered. "But she's still in me every day," he nodded. "Then maybe she brought you here." She met his gaze, and in her battered face he saw something flicker. "Strength even now." "I'm not ready to die," she said. "Good," Sam said softly. "Because I'm not ready to let them win again." Morning came slow and gray, the kind that crept over the mountains like an old dog too tired to bark. A hawk cried in the distance as Sam Redhawk stoked the fire, watching the flames catch with practiced patience. He had slept in the corner on a bed roll by the hearth, never fully letting himself drift, not with her in the room. Emma stirred behind him. Her breathing was shallow, but steady now. He'd managed to feed her some broth through the night, and she kept it down barely. That and the color returning to her cheeks gave him hope. But hope was a dangerous thing out here. He poured water into a tin cup and brought it to her side. She blinked as she saw him, her gaze sharpening. She looked like she remembered everything. "Water," he offered. She nodded. He helped her sit against the wall and held the cup steady as she drank. After a long silence, she asked, "Why did you see me?" He sat on the stool beside Hester. "Didn't they have much choice? You were breathing." "That's not a reason." Sam studied her. Her voice was stronger than the night before. Still hoarse, but iron crept under the softness. "Claire hadn't it. Her sister might have had the same face, but the soul behind it was forged from different fire." "He didn't recognize you at first," he said finally. "Thought you were her." Emma looked away, jaw tightening. "People always did." "Not just looks," Sam said. "You carry her quiet. But not her calm." Her eyes flicked back to him, sharp. "And you're not who I expected either." He raised a brow. "What were you expecting?" "I don't know," she said. "A villain, a savage, or a grieving ghost who sleeps beside her grave." Sam didn't flinch. "I don't go near that grave." Emma tilted her head, curious despite herself. "Why not?" "Because I can't tell if the grief is hers or mine. And I ain't sure which would kill me faster." The room fell silent. She broke it, voice lower. "They told us you killed her." Sam's gaze didn't move. "Was they?" "My father, the sheriff, the man who paid for her coffin." "Everyone?" He nodded slowly. "That's about right." "And she asked, and I didn't." His voice was flat. "But I was supposed to." Emma blinked. "What?" He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. They wanted me dead, so they used her. Told the town I'd taken her, forced her. When she was found in the river, it was easy to make me the monster. She was pregnant. Emma's mouth parted, her face tightening. Sam kept going. They didn't want her ruined in their eyes. Easier to make me the devil than admit she loved me. Emma let the weight of it settle. Finally, she said she wrote me letters. I still have them. She never told me she was with child. She didn't tell me either. Sam said, I found out from the undertaker. The fear cracked behind them. After a long pause, Emma asked, why'd you run? I didn't run. St. Sam said, I left before the mob came. I figured they wouldn't stop at hanging me. They'd make a show of it. I'd seen enough of that during the war. Her hands trembled in her lap. I don't know what to believe anymore. You don't have to believe me, Sam said gently. Just don't lie to yourself about who might have wanted her gone. Emma's face darkened. Do you think she was murdered? I know it, he said. She had enemies. She made them fast. Emma exhaled hard. Because of the girls. Sam stilled. Do you know about that? She told me in her last letter that something bad was happening at the boarding house she volunteered at. Girls going missing. Injured girls sent away at night. She said she was afraid. Sam nodded. That house was run by a man named Rusk. He's still in Drywood, richer now, probably cleaner on paper, but he's filth beneath. Emma gripped the blanket tighter. It's the one who took me in after my parents died. Sam's jaw flexed. I'm sorry. No, you're not, she said. You're furious. It was. It sat behind his ribs like a loaded gun. Do you remember the brand on your arm? He asked. She nodded slowly. That's his mark, Audi said. Used to tag girls like cattle. Not for sale, for silence. Emma's voice went flat. Then he thought I had seen too much. Sam stood. You probably had. She looked up at him. Why do they always come after the quiet ones? Because we're the only ones who still know how to listen. Later that day, Sam prepared the horse for a short ride into the hills to gather more clean water and roots. Before he left, he gave Emma a knife. She looked at it skeptically. He said, you ever used one? Not like this, she admitted. He meant her eyes. Then now's a good time to learn. She tucked it under her blanket. If someone comes. Don't hesitate, Bonnie said. Hesitation is how Claire died. Emma nodded one. Sam stepped outside into the growing heat. The wind had died. The air was dry as bone and twice as brittle. He didn't like the quiet. Not today. When he returned an hour later, Emma was sitting up on the cot, her legs draped over the side, staring at the fire. She looked pale, but her eyes were focused. Did you know? She said without looking up that Claire told me once. If she disappeared, I should never trust Rusk. Sam set down his pack. Sounds like her. She said. It smells like clean wood but cuts like a rusted blade. Sam smiled despite himself. That's Claire. Emma finally turned to him. Do you still love her? The question came like a thrown stone. He sat on the stool. I think I love the sound she made when she was safe and the way she looked at the trees like they were better than people. And I think I hate the world for not letting her live. Emma looked down. And me? I have her face. You look at me like you see her ghost. I did, Sam said honestly. But not now. What do you see now? He hesitated, then said. Someone who came back from the dead. And someone who might be able to finish what her sister started. Emma closed her eyes. Then we better start planning. As the evening light settled gold over the canyon, brushing the stones with soft fire. Sam Redhawk sat on the porch, oiling his rifle, every motion slow, deliberate. Inside the cabin, Emma moved with careful steps, testing her bruised ribs as she paced for the first time since waking up. It had been 2 full days since he found her in the burlap sack. The color had returned to her cheeks, but sleep still came in fits. Each night she'd wake with a cry caught in her throat, clutching the blanket like it might hold back whatever haunted her. That morning she hadn't cried. She'd asked for coffee instead. And that Sam figured was the beginning of something. Now, as dusk stretched across the land, Emma stood by the door watching him. "My parents are dead," she said like she was just now allowing it to be real. Sam didn't look up, but his hands stilled. He figured. She stepped outside and sat on the porch beside him. The rough blanket wrapped around her shoulders. "Didn't they do much against the chill?" "I buried them myself," she continued. "First my father, then my mother a year later." She went quiet one day. Never spoke again. Just sat near the window and waited. Sam offered her the tin mug. She took it and held it close, not drinking. "Clyde's death broke them both," she said. "And I think it broke me, though, just slower." Sam let the sealant settle between them. "He was there," Emma said. "The man who owns the house I worked in, Rusk. He came to the funeral, wore all black, told the town he was going to honor her legacy by taking care of me." Sam exhaled through his nose. "Snake in a preacher's coat." Emma nodded. "He bought me a room, gave me work. He served tea to his guests, wrote letters for him, sorted receipts. He thought maybe I was lucky." She paused. Then I saw what was happening. Sam looked at her. "What did you see?" "Girls," she whispered. "New ones, always coming, never staying long. One had a bruise on her neck shaped like a boot heel." Another flinched when a man raised his voice. She swallowed hard. He tried to ask. "Once a girl named Josie. She vanished the next day." Sam leaned forward. "And when you asked Rusk, I didn't get the chance." He found his ledger first. Names, payments, codes, some crossed out in red. She looked away. "That night, he called me up to his study. Told me to bring wine. He refused." Her voice dropped. "That's when he hit me." Sam's fingers curled tight around the rifle stock. "He dragged me down the stairs. He blacked out. Woke once midair like being carried, then nothing. Until I saw you." Sam's voice was low. "He should have burned his house when Claire died." Emma glanced at him. "So why didn't you?" He looked at her and there was no heat in his reply. "Just truce. Because I was too busy burying myself." They sat without speaking as the sun dipped behind the ridge, shadows lengthening like the past stretching toward them. Then Emma said, "I want to go back." Sam turned to her. "What?" "To Drywood," she said. "Not to fight, not yet. But to find that ledger. It has names. Girls who might still be alive. People who paid." Sam studied her, noting the fire behind her eyes. Different from Claire. Clary had been gentler wind and water. Emma was stone and flint. "You're not strong enough yet," he said. "I'll get strong," she replied. He gave her a lone look, then nodded once. "We'll wait one more day. Then we ride." The next morning, Emma asked for a pencil and paper. Sam gave her his journal. She flipped to the back and began to write. Names, place, but she remembered. Sam watched quietly as she worked, her brow furrowed. "She used to do that, though," he said. Emma glanced up. "Clary." She kept lists even when there was nothing to list. Said writing made her feel like she was building something solid. Emma gave a small smile. "She taught me to write in cursive." Sam smiled faintly. "She taught me how to dance badly." Emma blinked in surprise. "Only one once," he clarified. "Said a man shouldn't go through life without knowing how to move without running." That brought a real smile from her. "She said that," Emma murmured. "Exactly that in one of her letters." They shared a quiet moment, the kind that didn't need filling. Then Emma's smile faded. "There is something else," she said. Sam leaned back. "I'm listening." Emma hesitated. A few weeks before I was taken, I got a letter from someone named Mary Coulter. She said she used to work at the same boarding house as Claire. Said she'd found something records Claire had hidden. Sam's eyes sharpened. Did she say where? No, Emma said just that she kept them safe and that she wanted to meet me, but she never showed. Sam stood. We find her. But first, we find that ledger. Emma nodded. It's kept in Rusk's office, upper floor, locked drawer. Sam raised a brow. Do you know how to open it? He watched him. The key's behind a painting of a horse, left wall. Sam gave a low chuckle. Clyde's sister. All right. I'm not her, Emma said softly. Sam met her eyes. No, but I see her standing behind you sometimes, like ashes in sunlight. Emma looked down, blinking fast. Then she said, we ride tomorrow. The town of Drywood hadn't changed much in 6 years. Sammy White, dusty Main Street. Sammy two-story saloon leaning against the jail like it had too many drinks. Sammy church steeple pointing skyward as if begging forgiveness. But to Sam Redhawk, it looked smaller now. Or maybe he had just grown past the walls it once caged him in. And Emma arrived just after sundown, riding in quiet. Sam had left his rifle tucked beneath the saddle blanket, preferring not to draw eyes too soon. Emma wore a dark bonnet and a shawl that hid most of her face. No one looked twice. In a town like Drywood, folks saw what they wanted and ignored what scared them. They tied the horses behind the livery, where the smell of manure helped cover their tracks. Sam took the long way around to the boarding house, now renamed the Harrow House for Orphan Girls. His jaw clenched at the sight. Rusk had turned tragedy into virtue, used Claire's name to launder sin. Emma read the sign and whispered, I'm going to tear that name off this place when this is over. Sam nodded. That'd be a start. They watched from the alley until the lanterns dimmed inside. A single window remained lit on the second floor. That's his study, Emma said. He reads after dinner. You sure about the key? Sam asked. She nodded. Left wall behind the horse painting. Stay here, he said. Emma stiffened. No, not a request. You know that place. I know the floorboards that creak and which doors stick. You don't. Sam looked at her and saw her fire. Not rebellion, but resolve. She'd survived that place. Escaping had taken half her soul. Returning would take the rest. And yet here she was. He gave a reluctant nod, then stay close and quiet. They slipped in through the rear where the kitchen door had no lock. Emma led the way, her memory serving like a map etched in bruises. They avoided the servants' stairwell. It groaned like a rusty jaw and crept up the main staircase instead. Outside Rusk's study, Sam pressed his ear to the door. The room was still. Emma tapped once on the knob. 3 quick beats. Is snoring, she whispered. Always does that after brandy. Sam eased the door open. The room was as Emma remembered. Oak desk fireplace, shelves full of books no one touched, and the oversized painting of a stallion galloping through fire. She crossed to it, reached behind the frame, and pulled free a small brass key. Sam watched the hallway, one hand on the revolver under his coat. Emma opened the desk's bottom drawer and lifted out a black leather-bound ledger. Got it, she whispered. Then a floorboard creaked behind them. Sam spangu na. A man stood in the hallway, young, maybe 20, with freckles and a red vest. Stable boy. Judging by the hay on his boots, his eyes went wide. You're her. Emma froze. You're the Harrow girl, he whispered. Don't, Sam warned, stepping forward. But the boy didn't run. He stepped closer, voice low. They said you were dead. Mr. Rusk told us you ran off. Said you stole from him. Emma's voice was cold. Elite. The boy nodded slowly. I believe you. Didn't forget you saw us. Sam said the boy looked at him. Then back at Emma she was kind to me. Clyde used to sneak bread when I got beat. If you're here to finish what she started, good. It turned and vanished into the dark. Sam and Emma didn't speak as they crept back down the stairs and out the kitchen door. Only when they were 3 alleys away did Sam say, "You made a friend." Emma gave a tired smile. Clyde's kindness had a long reach. Back at the livery, they hid in the loft. Sam lit a stub of candle and flipped open the ledger. Inside were columns, names, dates, dollar amounts, destinations. Some entries marked with a small red cross. Others with black dots. Emma pointed. The red ones. Those girls never came back. The dots. They were sent across the border. Sam flipped to the final pages. A list of shipments. One upcoming. August 20. Trito El Paso. Pick-up confirmed. Authorities brave. That's in 4 days. Emma whispered. Sam's mouth tightened. If we can intercept them, we'll need help, she said, and fast. Sam nodded. There is a man outside of Tucson. Retired Marshal. Owes me a favor. But it's a day's ride. Emma gripped the ledger. Then we better not waste daylight. Before it dawned, they left driveway behind. Sam knew they'd be hunted the moment Rusk discovered the ledger gone. But they had what they came for. They made camp in a canyon 30 millas west, nestled under a stone overhang. Emma slept against her saddle, the ledger wrapped in her coat. Sam kept watch. The stars wheeled overhead and a low wind stirred the ashes of the fire. Emma stirred and sat up. "Do you ever think," she murmured, "that maybe Claire meant for me to do this? That her death wasn't just tragedy?" Sam stared at the glowing embers. "Claire didn't believe in fate, but she believed in you." Emma looked toward the eastern sky. Where the moon was starting to pale, she used to say, "The moon only dies so it can rise again." Sam met her gaze, then let it rise. Night draped its velvet over the canyon, leaving only pale flickers of moonlight, guiding Sam Redhawk and Emma Harrow as they trod silently through the sagebrush. The ledger lay wrapped in Emma's coat pressed against her heart. A fragile but potent key to unraveling the horrors that had begun with Claire's death. They stopped beside a fallen juniper, its twisted limbs tracing patterns in moonlight. Emma unwrapped the ledger, cracking the spine open gently as though she feared damaging something sacred. "Each name tells a story," she murmured. The page glowed faintly. Names, dates, counts with red crosses beside many entries. So many names had black dots. She traced them with a trembling finger. Red means gone forever. Dot means shipped south. Sam leaned close. "Look at the dates." "Only a month ago," Emma said, voice low. "And next shipment, August 20 to El Paso. 3 gales." The moonlight caught Sam's jaw as it set. "That's 4 days from now," he said. "They haven't shipped yet. We could still intercept them." Emma's gaze hardened. "But we'll need help we don't have." Sam opened his jacket, pulling out Claire's locket. Inside a faded photograph of her smiling beside Emma. He held it toward her. She believed someone would finish this. "I think she meant one of us." Emma closed her eyes, silhouette struck by memory and resolve. By first light, they were on horseback, riding in silence toward the Borderlands road. Sam led, Emma behind, clutching the ledger. The terrain felt different now. Sharp ridges and flat mesas bearing witness to their resolve. He didn't glance back. As the sun climbed, they crossed paths with silence. No coyote calls, no distant wagons. Emma spoke first, voice steady. "Sam, what if they're expecting us?" He didn't answer. They turned a bend and saw the town of Moe's quiet, small and sun-stilled. Emma spotted a trading post with a porch. Sam pulled them off the trail. They tethered the horses and entered. An elderly storekeeper nodded at them, busy cleaning his counter. Sam paid with coins and asked about the road to El Paso. The man shrugged. "Not much traffic, ma'am. Used the dust road. Mostly traders. Less chance of running into whoever you're running from." Emma nodded, pressing the ledger inside her coat. They left as quietly as they entered. By late afternoon, they intercepted a freight wagon, drawn by 2 mules lumbering toward El Paso. There were no girls aboard, only barrels and blankets. Sam studied it. Company marked as Darrow and Chris Transport. He whispered, they've transferred them to a smaller rig, maybe out this way. Emma noted the location in the ledger. A rest stop 6 millas north. They moved the cargo at dusk. They rode past the wagon and disappeared northward. Intent on that stop. Nick's shadow came early in the canyon. The rest stop, a crude supply hut under starlight, stood empty. Emma pressed against its wooden wall. Sam extinguished his lantern. They pressed inside. A crate of fresh boards lay by the corner. The floor was damp. Footprints led from inside the crate, and inside they saw whisper-thin forms, blankets that obscured the shapes of human bodies. Sam lifted one. A girl, a child, crouched before him. Her eyes wide, frightened. He froze. Emma gasped, stepping forward, but Sam held up a hand. The child's eyes narrowed. No plea for escape, only recognition of danger. Sam knelt and spoke softly. We're here for you, not to frighten. The girl didn't move. Emma rushed to the crate, pulling down the edge of a blanket. Two more girls, hair, ashes and skin. Silent, Sam searched pockets. He found nothing but VETR and mourning pins clutched in trembling hands. We've got to move them, he said. Emma nodded, determined. They loaded the children onto their horse, then tossed the blankets aside, forging shadows away, but then boots rang. The approach of men with torches. Sam grabbed Emma's arm. Run. They fled into the desert, dark on their horse, torchlight close behind, ringing like heat. Emma held the ledger tight. Sam guided the children. The moon rode high. Sam steered toward a wash that led to his known ravine. They galloped 9 millas, breath and dust in fight. When they reached Sam's canyon, he slowed. They dismounted, helped the children off the horses, and led them into his cabin. He laid them beneath blankets and lit a fire. Emma watched the faces, relief and exhaustion glowing like embers. A thin knock sounded on the door. Sam's hand went to the rifle. Emma whispered, Sam, open it. He nodded slowly and opened the door to reveal the courier from Tucson, a lean woman with as sharp as flint. You, though, she said. I was sent by the marshal. You're riding out tomorrow with proof and witnesses. He saw what happened. Sam recognized her badge. Emma stood firm, gas steady. They rail laugh. The courier smiled soft. Go home, Sam said. And let them live. Dawn broke cold and gold over the ridges of Arizona. The horizon burned like a slow fire behind the juniper trees, and the sky above Sam Redhawk's homestead blushed with the color of old scars. Emma stood outside the cabin, ledger clutched to her chest, watching as the 3 girls slept fitfully beside the hearth. She hadn't slept, couldn't, not with what today would bring. Sam emerged from the back room where he had sharpened his old skinning knife and packed his father's war shirt made of fond elk hide and stitched with thunderbird beads. Not a marshal's badge, not a uniform, but armor all the same. Emma looked at him. You wearing that? Sam nodded. My grandfather said it was for battle and burial. I think this counts as wolf. And they rode west just before sunrise alongside the courier Marshal Ella Griggs, who had brought 3 fresh horses and a federal writ alerting the territorial court of a pending criminal hearing. There's a judge waiting, she said, but there's also plenty of men who'd rather this stayed buried in sand, including Sheriff Coates and some of Rusk's associates. Sam rode in silence. Emma's jaw was clenched. You sure you're ready? Ella asked. Emma made her gas. I'd been ready since the night I was thrown in that sack. By midday, they reached Sagewood, a dusty frontier town with stone steps and sun-bleached wood. It was where the circuit court rode once a month, and where corrupt men believed they were untouchable. Marcel Griggs led them straight to the courthouse, a building more barn than beacon, and shoved open the doors. Inside the crowd turned, merchants, ranchers, ladies with parasols, and 3 uniformed deputies. Behind the bench sat Judge Benjamin Lell, appointed from Yuma and not known for patience. Griggs walked straight to the table and dropped the ledger down hard. Affidavit names and survivors. She said, this one's federal now. Lil peered over spectacles. Survivors? Emma stepped forward. I'm Emma Harrow. My sister Claire was murdered 6 years ago. I was sold into servitude. This ledger, she tapped the black cover, was kept by Ruskindo. A whisper rippled through the courtroom. And you're sure it's authentic? Sam's voice cut through the room. Rusk's seal. Rusk's handwriting. And we have 3 girls who were created like cattle. Another gasp. Lel nodded. Proceed. What followed was long and bloody. Emma testified calm and clear, naming names, dates, scars. Then came the children one at a time, each with wide eyes and hesitant words. Some held their hands as they spoke, grounding them. And finally, the courier herself swore on record that she had witnessed the rest stop, the crates, the documents. Rusk was not present, but his associates were. One tried to slip out. Sam followed, met him behind the saloon. Gunna. You run, Sam said, and I'll consider you confessing. The man raised his horns. Banait Fol, Judge Lau ruled. The court finds sufficient evidence to detain Ambrose Rusk and issue warrants for every name listed in this ledger. These crimes are systemic, coordinated, and cruel. This court will not turn a blind eye. Applause broke out in the courtroom. Real, bro. Emma cried for the first time in years. 2 days later, back at Sam's ranch beneath the juniper sky, they buried Claire's locket in a small cannon beneath her favorite tree. Sam laid down his knife beside a steel. Not in surrender, but in peace. Emma stood beside Aiden, hands folded. She'd have loved this view, she whispered. Sam nodded. She still sees it. They sat in the grass as twilight deepened. She never told me everything, Emma said. Sam smiled faintly. She didn't need to. She knew you'd carry it. That night, they built a fire. No more secrets, no more shadows, just the whisper of wind through juniper and the soft sound of children sleeping safely for the first time in years. Justicia had come, not swiftly, but surely. And somewhere in the breeze, it felt like Claire was smelling. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of this story. I'm truly glad you stayed with me. Your support means so much. Please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel so I can keep bringing you more heartfelt stories like this.